I'm Eddie Vijay and I'm from Kenya. I'm just very curious that when you're talking about the risks facing the government you didn't talk about education.
I didn't talk about it, please?
Education.
Education.
And when I talk about education, we don't really access to education. I mean the quality of education. Because I want to use the figures again in inflation versus exports from the continent. If you look at the inflation rate, it's increasing in a stratospheric rate, while exports are also increasing. While inflation should be defining what we are producing, it's an element of production. It thinks there's less money, more money chasing through goods, means that we're not producing, yet we are exporting. So that shows that there's something you're exporting which means not our potential. And that goes to the question of inflation. And it's not a matter of access, it's a matter of quality. Why am I saying quality? If you look at in Kenya, for example, the age group that we talk about, 15 to 25, let me stretch it to 30 years of old. If the literacy rate of my country is 81%, right? Over 57% of the people who are educated in the country are doing that gap. If you look at Ghana, which you used, for example, literacy rate is 78%. 57% of those who are educated in that country are between that age gap. Meaning, when you look at the total production, which is labor, which people participate in, our education system is not bringing them back to connect with the production. There is no solvent production. So there are either two things that are happening. Somebody somewhere is defining what we are producing, that's why our exports are coming up high, and the production keeps on increasing, or our education system does not prepare our people to come back to the production chain. And that one makes even the high employment rates and the serious this building and talking about people claiming to be outside the continent or want to influence the continent from outside, yet they can participate if the economy can be a solvent production based on the education that prepares the food towards that production. So I wanted you to maybe help me understand the idea of education that I'm talking according to this.
So I think you're right. I mean, again, I want to emphasize that when I put the risks up there, I was talking about risks sort of from the IMF macroeconomic point of view. There are lots of other risks, and I think education is one, health is one, the ability for infrastructure. There are other components to the development puzzle that have to be addressed. But as you rightfully state, education is key, and it's the type of education you're going to do. And there's a bit of a chicken and egg problem here. Why train people for industry if there's no industry? But if there's no people trained, there's never going to be any industry. So you get into a vicious cycle, right, of training mismatches. I was mission chief for Cape Verde for a while. And Cape Verde, in one island in Cape Verde, they had extremely good light manufacturing. European enterprises were setting up light manufacturing plants there. Now, Cape Verde is a little remote from the rest of the continent. It was to serve Europe. But I said to the owners, why Cape Verde? Why here? And they said, because in Cape Verde we have a workforce that's well educated generally. We can give them the education they need to produce whatever we're producing, but they're well educated enough, they come to work on time, they stay at the job, and they produce. And they say, we've tried it in other countries. And I said, which other countries? Of course, they wouldn't tell me. But they said, other countries that we've tried in the region, that's simply not the case. And so it's not just technical education. It's in some sense, getting the basic level of literacy and ability to work and to function correct. And part of that, I think, and I'm a Westerner, so it's a bit hard for me to say, there's a certain amount of cultural bias there, right? That Westerners are going to want something slightly different. So I think the interesting thing for Africans is going to be able to adapt to that design, but also to be able to, for those of you who've been exposed in both places, in some sense, to adapt manufacturing to Africanism, to the way Africans work. They work, think, react differently. It shouldn't be just all about Africa changing to be like the West. So the question in my mind is how much the Western education model should simply be transplanted into Africa, and how much Africans need to think more about their own education model. And I'm not an education expert, so I hesitate to talk But clearly there are huge gaps. The other thing that is pointed out, although this is lessening, the World Bank has just published this year's World Development Report, which is on gender. The education of women and young girls is incredibly important because it's shown pretty definitively if you don't educate a young woman, she's likely to bear a child at a very early age. For that child will be sick and either cause her problems or the child problems. If the child grows up, she will not be educated, and you start a cycle down that woman's descendants of being stuck in poverty. And so educating women because of their role in nurturing families and nurturing children is incredibly important. And that's another area where Africa has been behind much of the world, although it's quickly catching up in lots of countries. You had a